السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله.
Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to the Masjid Carpark Podcast episode 47.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome everybody. It's
How
been
are
a
you
while.
this fine evening?
Alhamdulillah, it's very late.
It's extremely late.
It's very late. But alhamdulillah, see, these are sacrifices have to be made, even after a month of being away, 3 weeks of being away. We do apologize. There's people that have been asking for the next episode, and just life, I guess. It's his fault actually. There's all these emergencies. I was actually getting ready.
It's actually my fault.
I was going to get ready to do it myself, talk to myself for 1 hour, but
You should be good at that.
yeah.
So anyway, Khalid, what do you think? I think it's good, Maulana.
Yeah.
Alter ego.
Yeah,
Your
yeah.
alim and non-alim alter ego.
There's only a alim. There's no.
Oh, your alim and mufti
just-
alter egos.
Once you become one, you become one with your ilm,
Become one with the force.
Yeah, astaghfirullah.
Come to the
How you
light,
been?
brother. Yeah, alhamdulillah.
You seem to be busy, man. Have a lot of emergencies.
Bro, non-stop.
Yeah?
Absolutely.
Is it work or
no-
home, family, or both?
Everything.
Really?
Yeah, there's just a lot going on, mashallah.
Yeah.
It's-
Some of
it's
us are ready
madness.
on standby to do the podcast. We take the audience seriously, the 100 of you seriously.
100? I thought it was 21. All three of you, seriously?
Donate to our Patreon. We should get a Patreon account or something.
How does Patreon work? You get money
Patreon,
for
you
it?
just set up an account, but I think you have to do an extra episode for the patrons. I think there's like an extra episode.
An extra bit at the end.
I don't know. I'll have to check it out. But if you motivate us, then we can pay him, and I'll do this for free.
So it's basically
from
your
the love,
version
from
of
the love of.
your version of OnlyFans. You get to see Maulana
I'll take
Khalid.
my hoodie off.
You get to
That's
see Shaykh Khalid in all his glory.
Here's a free sample. I'll take the cap stuff.
I dare you to. I dare you to.
No.
What's under the cap, Maulana?
I mean, I'm assuming OnlyFans is not just about that. I think OnlyFans is people get interviews or chats with their favorite stars or something.
I don't know anything
I
about
think
it.
I don't
I
think
think you know a lot more about it than I do.
No, I've heard about it. I heard a lot about
What's
it.
under your topi, Maulana? Astaghfirullah.
So it's anyway, astaghfirullah. No. Look,
He's like, maybe we should have held up for another week.
I think it's like 99%. 99% is for bad things, and probably like 1% for good things. I don't know. I've never been to it, so I don't know. 100%. I'm telling you.
I've got enough money to go to it.
Anyway,
Not
now
that I would.
we've told you about it, and Allah forgive us for it.
Astaghfirullah.
Yeah. Anyway, no, but
Don't go there.
Patreon, we should get one, just to motivate the guys to make sure they're in and they come. And Lada's not been here; everyone's busy, and just because we live in different parts of Melbourne, to come together and so forth, to be challenging.
And timings are all over the place.
Yeah.
My timings are all over the place.
I should be a little bit sort of semi-easy timetable in about a month, inshallah. About a month,
Studies over in a month.
2 months. No.
Are you still studying?
I got another year off that. I really got a 7-8 year plan. 7-8 year plan.
Of studies?
Yeah. But I should ease up a little bit in the next
Mashallah.
2 months, inshallah.
But what are you going to do in 7-8 years, bro?
We'll talk about it when I get to it, inshallah. There's a lot of study to do anyway, before the age of 50. So the next decade is very important.
Islam is that deep?
Yeah.
There's that many books?
So anyway, inshallah. Yeah. Qaylulas. Qaylulas are becoming valuable and thing, but
I don't
the
even have a time for qaylula, bro.
Qaylula, having a siesta, afternoon nap.
You become Spanish all of a sudden. You channeled your Brazilian side.
The best is the two Ethiopian pilots who had a siesta while they're flying at 37,000 feet. Lada's not
And they
here.
miss
We're
Addis
gonna
Ababa.
mock Ethiopian pilots. The best airline in Africa, apparently. These guys missed the city. They were asleep. Both the pilot and co-pilot fell asleep. They missed
they
it.
went over.
They went for about half an hour over at 37,000 feet. So I think one of them I think they take turns. So one of them is in trouble, big trouble. So I think they went for another half hour. They just kept on going. Lucky they had enough fuel. They came back.
That's the scary part, because they don't have that much reserve fuels because it's a cost saving.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
mean, they still have quite a fair
So
bit.
lucky they had. What happened was there's an alarm from the ground. They
That's right.
They pressed the alarm to wait to
they
check.
passed the descent, and what happened was they passed the spot where they have to start their descent into land for landing, And then the ground control kept trying to contact them. No
I
response.
think they activated the alarm inside the cockpit to wake them up. Nap time's over, guys.
Get up, guys.
We know you're busy.
Get up, guys.
What a place to have a qailula, you know, like, anyway.
Imagine being on that plane.
Yeah, they'll be oblivious to it. Your captain, your...
The closest I've come to something like that was when I was catching a flight to New Zealand and the flight got cancelled. Absolute chaos. They put us in a hotel room one night. This is in Melbourne. So I didn't go home. They just said, we'll put you in a hotel. I go, all right, fine. It took me 48 hours to get to Wellington via Auckland. It was a mad trip. And then as I'm getting off in Auckland, there's this guy talking to another guy. I go, do you hear about the Singapore Airlines flight where the pilot tested over the blood alcohol level for alcohol? Like he was over the limit for a pilot. I'd be assuming that would be 0.00. And that's why I got grounded. Can you imagine that pilot when he goes back to Singapore Airlines?
Yeah.
Don't drink and fly.
Yeah, there's a one flight Sri Lankan. I don't know if that airline exists anymore. It was we were late, and the pilot comes at this big, huge guy, and he goes, "Don't worry, I will fly faster." You know? And we were like, "There's all these professors. They're attending this conference." So we're just sitting. They just looked at each other. He goes, "Oh no."
Were they white?
So,
Were they white?
No. They were also like Indians or Sri Lankans or something. It's from Sri Lanka to India. But he said, don't worry, I'm going to try to fly faster. Please don't. just
do what you got to do,
just
bro.
get us there alive. But anyway. Yeah.
Well, can they say not my job?
Poor Scomo.
That's the biggest news story of this week.
It's not my job because I got 5 other jobs to do. Like, you know, so Scomo, our Prime Minister, former Prime Minister, Scott Morrison, got in a lot of hot water when it was found out that he was running like 5 ministries. Nobody was aware of it.
The way it works is you've got the Prime Minister who doesn't actually have any official stuff to do.
Okay.
Right? In terms of ministries. And then he appoints the ministers for that thing. So Minister for Industry, Science and Industry.
Cabinet.
Now that minister is the one that makes all the decisions, not the Prime Minister. Yep. That's how it's meant to work.
Really?
Right?
Okay.
And they get sworn in by the Governor General. That's how the Westminster system works. Now, what happened was, and it's one minister per portfolio, but good old Scomo in the middle of the pandemic secretly swore himself into 5 ministries.
How does he swear? With the Governor General?
Yeah, with the Governor General.
And the Governor General was okay with it?
They're asking the Governor General, why didn't you tell us? And the Governor General's like, well, I thought, Scomo, the Prime Minister would inform the public. Problem is, he swore him into 3 ministries at the start.
Yeah.
And then...
So he stuffed up.
Later on, he swore him into 2 more ministries. No, it's not the Governor General's job. But, he should have said, mate, what's going on here?
Yeah.
Right? And then later on, he swore him into 2 more ministries. So if you're saying that I thought the Prime Minister would tell the Australian public, didn't something ring a bell when he comes back after not telling the Australian public about the first 3?
Yeah.
And then on top of that, everything the Governor General does is written in his diaries. Swearing in of ministers, everything.
Yeah.
Scomo wasn't in there.
Oh, okay. So there's a lot of...
so there's a lot of behind-the-scenes stuff
sort
that's
of
going
Banana
on.
Republic sort of stuff was going on in Australia.
Look, Scomo said Australian people will not understand the pressures I was under and all that. And I was thinking about it. Look, I'm not a big fan of Scomo, and I'm thinking about what he's saying, and I get it, because we're in the middle of a pandemic, unseen. What if a minister falls sick or something happens? However, that wasn't the thing that I take issue with, or the Australian public takes issue with. It's, why didn't you tell us? Because you're undermining...
I think it's funny also because they were making fun of, because during the bushfires before COVID, there's T-shirts you can buy online. Not my job. Not my job.
I actually want to get one.
So there's remixes online of Not My Job. So he said it's not his job because he had 5 jobs he was doing at once. So, I mean, he's a super prime minister.
I don't know.
I reckon Albanese, I think he's milking it, obviously.
Why wouldn't you?
Yeah, but...
Why wouldn't you? No, think about it. During the election campaign, he got smashed by Scomo. He got smashed. And as they say, payback is the proverbial. You know what I mean? Yeah. It is what it is. And it's just now his turn.
Yeah.
Think about how much Scomo attacked Albanese.
Yeah, I mean, I guess...
It was pretty full on.
Yeah, I guess
right?
so.
So now it's his turn, but the thing is, what Albo's got, he's actually got some substance behind the scenes. And the fact that even the fact that even the fact that even liberal ministers have come out. Karen Andrews, what did she say? He should be resigning. They've come out because it's a pretty big thing.
Yeah,
this is on its way to dictatorship.
Yeah, and it said this is like
step
democracy.
One.
You know. So,
and if it's not, if for example, for Australia, we believe in democracy, we go with democracy.
It's shaking the cause of democracy.
Of course it is. Because you're attacking the foundation of what the country is built on. What do you expect? Right, so
I guess so. I mean, I think that's enough. Let's move on.
I can't.
They want him to resign.
This Scomo. I've just been enjoying that. Yeah, I've been. I get where he's coming from, but at the same time, in terms of he wants a backup just in case something happens. But at the same time, it goes to show he's right, and that's how he ran government. Like, it was his way or the highway.
Yeah, fair enough.
So much for retreating into the limelight in silence.
Yeah, bitch, poor bloke.
Come back with.
Speaking of prime ministers, Imran Khan, former prime minister, has been basically charged with terrorism because of threatening to sue the police in Islamabad and the judge making this decision and then they're saying this is a threat, and therefore he's under terrorism charges. They're charging for terrorism. I mean, this is like how ridiculous I mean, it's basic like everything.
Is it going to stick?
Because
I can make anything stick.
Well, he's not like the other guys, but let's see. In the next few months,
the people seem to be supporting him.
Yeah, definitely.
Would you say
that's the problem for the establishment? So the military, the military is the biggest sort of party behind the scenes. They, like in all countries, they are. What Erdogan pulled off in Turkey is a miracle. Like that's
the coup.
No, not the coup. What he did over more than 2-3 decades is to rein in the military to do their job. Right, and the civilian leadership to be in charge of the country, and they tell the military what to do. Like they give the respect to the military for their sacrifices, but the military is not allowed to intervene in the politics of the country. Problem in countries like Egypt or where it's a very large army. There's a industrial complex that's attached to it, huge amount of money, contracts, building contracts. It's like a whole economy. Like half the economy is like the military.
That's what I've heard about Pakistan. Like the defense, there's areas called defense where people live. Like
that's like suburbs. The top, and some of the worst stuff happens there. Like the most fitness stuff usually in defense. Yeah. This is very well known. So they scratch the back of all. They get the loyalty of their soldiers by giving them these like apartments and things. But then the kickbacks and then the top brass, they're not just getting an apartment.
They're pseudo leaders.
They're not just getting apartments. They're multi-millionaires. You got to understand, like, when you talk about industrial complex, you're not talking about guys that are just, I mean, the average soldier probably is sacrificed and they become shaheed and they die on borders and so forth. I mean, that's, if you can say it that way. But in the eyes of the Pakistanis, they're shaheed. So, but that's understandable. But I reckon there's some top brass leadership who hide behind that. Yeah. Right, because how are these guys becoming multi-millionaires when they're supposed to be in the army?
And it's a government pay.
What's that?
It's government pay, so it's not like private sector pay.
So they become super rich off it. So that's, I don't know, there's question mark should be there. But Imran Khan hasn't done that. He hasn't attacked it. He calls what he refers to as neutrals. He goes, neutrals should remain neutral. Now, neutral is a very generic word. He's not talking about the army. He's talking about the powers that be, the establishment, whatever you want to call it. It could be in the military, people in the military, and also others as well.
Right.
So there's like this class of people who behind the scenes, intelligence agencies, right? And they have these massive...
That's a good point. I never thought about the intelligence. Where do the intelligentsia...
well, they're a branch of the army. So like ISI, they're a branch of the army.
Oh, they're actually part of the army, not a separate branch like in Australia.
No, they are part of the army. They're an extension of the army. So... But then among them, like people rise up through the ranks, through certain... It was funny, like the head of the military, like what do you call it? The chief of staff. So the chief of staff is like usually the guy that's pretty powerful. And those are the guys that usually they make the coups and so forth. So he's in charge of all the army, right? So that, they're very interesting characters if you see...
But I suppose, why did they turn to... I thought they were with Imran Khan at the start.
I think they were, but I think they could see that in another decade, the path that he was taking the country, they would be losing this position.
Yeah, okay.
So they will end up where what Erdogan did in Turkey. It doesn't mean that they are better for the country or worse. I mean, sorry, Imran Khan, like there could be good people among them, but the problem is the average person is suffering. So it's very little is done for the average. But I think now it's coming to heads, and people are angry, and these sort of cronies and powerful families who make sure that their kids are the ones prime minister. Like they don't look at the person who's most capable for the job. The sons inherit the party and so forth. So all the parties are like that, you know.
Yeah.
All the parties are like, they've got their kids as the next one. So they said in the whole of the country of 220 million, there's no one that can lead your party except for your own kids. So they're like fiefdoms, you know, the way they operate. But Imran Khan's got the popular, ear, and people love him, and that's a very hard thing for these people to create.
All that.
That's why they don't want to go to election. That's why they're scared. Actually,
May Allah protect him, because all that could happen is he becomes a martyr for the cause.
Well, they can't win. If they won't do that because they don't want to make him a martyr.
But then after a little bit of time, it'll die down. You're not going to have 10 others stand up in his place. Yeah,
exactly. So this is sort of maybe the last chance for Pakistan to actually unshackle from the establishment. But let's see. Yeah, will it exist? Will it continue to exist or not? As a there's grumblings and people saying this could lead to civil war and like massive disturbances in the country.
Really?
Yeah.
We're at that stage now.
Yeah, it seems to be sort of getting closer to that.
Does that mean? What does that mean for the rest of the world?
Well, if
Pakistan's got nuclear weapons, bro.
Yeah, well, that's a problem. But I don't think that's a problem. Really, look at Russia. It came out of the Soviet Union and it turned out all right. It turned out fantastic.
Did you just say that?
Yeah. I mean,
no issues with missing nukes or anything?
No. That's just James Bond movies. That's.
Are you serious? That's not just James Bond.
You reckon
movies.
There's nuclear weapons floating around?
Bro, please, man.
I don't think so. I don't think it's that easy to get.
How the hell? No, I'm not saying they're floating around. I'm sure, and I hope that the Western powers have kept an eye on this stuff.
Why the Western powers? The Russians can take care of their own.
Dude, do you trust? I don't know. I'm not.
Like, you reckon?
I'm not being. I don't want to be. I sound anti-Russian or anti-whatever. However, no, I don't.
Yeah, you don't trust the Russians.
Look, in the West, there's corruption.
Didn't Americans drop accidentally a nuclear bomb somewhere in in Florida? There's a famous case.
I don't know about that.
Of an actual bomb that they actually put a bomb on a plane. They by mistake dropped it somewhere, like on a testing ground, but not a normal. Wasn't a normal.
I haven't heard of that.
Like India, I think last week or something. Not last week. They just charged the officers who fired a missile into Pakistan last year or this year or something, accidentally. But anyway, it was an accident. It's impossible because
that's like a World War III starting. Like that's
Those are the guys. Those psychos.
That's my point. That is my point with Russia. At least in the West, whether you call it America.
But they have reasonable people. Like if you remember in the Soviet Union, there's a famous incident where they were detecting nukes coming from the US. Right? It was a false alarm. It was a mistake. It was a glitch on the system. Right? And this officer, had to make a decision not to fire the nukes from their side. And he didn't do it. He made the decision, no, these are not actual nukes coming, because the decision had averted World War III, apparently. That one guy 100%. Was with the switch.
Well, he saved the world.
Yeah, so they could have just started firing and it would have been just hell.
But you can imagine some Russian dude sitting there and he just like, you know what, stuff it. We're going down anyway.
Well, that's
what they're worried about with Putin.
Well, this week, we found out about this guy, if we didn't know about him before, the ideologues, the Putin whisperer, the one he's a philosopher. He's like a Nazi Russian. I don't know what you call him, but like a Russianist. Like he's a extreme right wing philosopher, and about the motherland, and all that. He wrote a book on how great Russia is, similar to Hitler's book on Germans. Yeah, the Mein Kampf of Russia, and apparently it's really well read amongst us. So his daughter was bombed this week. Yeah. And the claims were made by
Ukraine did it.
They said the Ukraine did it, but there was actually a Russian soldiers.
What they're saying is that
there's an NRA, what is it, National Russian Front or something like that.
What they're saying is it looks like the modus operandi of this, the way this bomb went off, is what the Russian mafia used to do like 10 years ago.
not 10 years ago, 20
So what
in the
they're
90s.
saying is
in the 90s.
this is their internal, something's going on internally, and it was just payback. Like
Yeah.
it's convenient to blame Ukraine.
No. The letter was read by a former minister who read the letter on behalf of that organization.
Okay,
The one that did the bombing. So he read the letter that we are patriot Russians, but we're not Putinists. And so there seems to be grumbling inside Russia happening now.
Yeah, but there's always been grumbling inside Russia.
I mean, it could be
dissent has been just.
It could be CIA. We don't know. Like these things, you don't know who. I was reading this week about Iran and the British and the Americans. How jealous the British got of Americans coming in. Like after World War II, the Americans they're more powerful than the British. British copped it in World War II, and they were saved by the Americans. Yeah. So now Americans, all of a sudden, who didn't want to enter the World War II,
are the heroes.
They are the heroes. They beat Nazis along with Soviet Union, and Soviet Union doesn't get enough credit for World War II for controlling the Nazis.
They lost a lot of lives,
21 million or some ridiculous amount.
It's just crazy.
And
that's one thing.
And you know what the Germans? I was reading somewhere. They starved 3 million POWs to death. The Germans.
It's ugly, man.
Soviet prisoners of war. Yeah. They starved because there was a grain shortage. Ukraine was apparently they wanted to grab Ukraine because of the. I didn't know there's so much like the grain.
Ukraine is the grain bowl of the world.
It's shockingly. It's sorry. It's actually shockingly amazing how similar
much grain is produced in Ukraine.
Yeah, they just did like 500,000, 500 tons or 5,000 tons just went yesterday, and that reduces the price all over the world. And those guys. So in World War I and II, in between, it's a very messy time. The British were amazingly they controlled this was Mossadegh, who was assassinated by the CIA, the Iranian prime minister. He said, "What's on our land?" It seems like a very sensible and normal thing to say now, but what's on our land is ours.
Yeah.
And you pay us instead of you taxing. They were taxing. And the British were getting jealous of the Americans because Americans are having like these deals where more money was coming to the Middle Eastern states. Before, more money was going out.
Yeah.
So when they started to do that, now all of a sudden BP, which was I think originally...
British Petroleum.
Yeah, British Petroleum was called Anglo-Iranian Petroleum or something like that.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, so because Iran's got a lot of oil, right? So that they haven't forgotten that. They still working in these like archaic 50s, 60s. Yeah. So they got rid of Mossadegh. It created chaos. Like he was a shrewd like politician, and they didn't like him. They said we need to get rid of this guy.
No, because he was good for the country.
He was good for
his own people. That's right.
Like they're doing in Yemen now.
They're doing with Imran Khan now.
Yeah, with French. Anybody that's not towing the line. Amazingly enough, the Afghans, Taliban, they are negotiating with Russia for petrol. They get a lower rate than Pakistan. Indians have negotiated it.
They're getting
Bangladesh has negotiated. Sri Lankans, I think, negotiate. Everybody can do their own deals. Pakistan has to be the slaves. That's a problem there. But the French, the French, as I was mentioning, that in Yemen,
they've moved in with the French Foreign Legion and taken over the oil wells.
Gas. They've taken it to help out with the European problem with the Russia, because Russia's selling gas.
Meanwhile, the Yemenis are freezing.
It's amazing. Like they still, they're plundering. They're plundering a country's wealth, like just like they openly, like with no shame. I mean, they didn't have shame, but
what they're saying is
with all their wokeness,
the company owns the oil wells, the gas wells.
Yeah, well,
it's crazy. And where's the money going to? The profits should be going back into the country, but if there's no government, who do you pay? You don't pay anyone.
And who's helping them? The Saudis, the Emiratis, and there's somebody else involved in it as well. So, I mean, it's just theft on a grand scale. But anyway, that's
it's depressing. It's depressing.
Well, they use this term, the Great Reset. Like the guy in Davos, this professor, he used this term Great Reset. Basically, we need to reset capitalism, right? And to be fair to everybody. But then that term got co-opted by the conspiracy theorists. So they said this Great Reset is like you're not gonna own anything and you'll be happy. And so they sort of co-opted the term Great. So it became something negative. But whether people say it's a Great Reset or not, in some form, things look like But now it's sort of not resetting. It's resetting, like, depends on what do you mean resetting to? Resetting to
I
what?
think it's going backwards.
Resetting to 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 100 years ago. I reckon it is going to go way back.
It's going backwards.
It's going to be way back. I reckon
It's
even nations
coming back.
The fact that Russia took Crimea, like annexed the state,
That's right.
like that's old world, great game
Warfare.
like taking parts, like
That's
French
right.
taking this thing.
Chess.
It's like taking chunks of countries and battling it
That's
out.
basically what's happening
So
with
I
these
reckon-
oil wells.
I reckon there's going to be a breakdown of what we consider the nation states and borders and things.
No, that's pushing it.
Huh?
That won't happen.
I reckon it
And
will.
how do you break down
It will
nation
happen.
states?
How long it will take, I don't know, but it will happen because even if you read in the hadith about the signs of Qiyamah, they're talking about armies that are marching from Europe into the Middle East, where we see that. But then he mentioned about the armies from Khurasan marching all the way to Masjid Al-Aqsa. There's like 5 countries in between.
And it's a long distance.
Yeah, no, but they'll like. So what happened to all the borders? So I don't think these are going to be long term. I don't know if there's going to be these borders are going to what we know as what we recognize the world today. How long is it going to take? We take it for granted. Nation states we take for granted, but they're literally
100 years old.
100 years old. That's not a long time in human history.
We just don't realize that because we weren't born 100 years ago.
Yeah, and
we
the
can't
Rush-
see the change.
And the Russians, they like are very bitter. Like that guy, that professor whose daughter got bombed, that like he's talking in those terms. Like, no, this is our sphere of influence. Like Ukraine is ours. It's part of Russia. And also Eastern Europe as well. They're not.
Well, Erdogan seems to think Crimea isn't part of Russia.
Yeah, well, I saw that today. He announced that because this is against international law and so
And
forth.
at the end, right at the end, he was talking about the Tatars. Like we're
Because
worried
that's
about them as
yeah,
well.
because they're Turks. They're the first Turks to claim independence, to raise their flag as a Turkic people.
Right.
Yeah, so if you read about the Tatar, the Crimean Tatars, they have a very long, elaborate history. Actually, very interesting. I was reading about the other day about the Seljuk Turks. So Seljuk Turks, like Ottoman Turks, take a lot of credit, and people talk about a lot. But the Seljuk Turks,
They're the ones that did the wars. They
did all the work, actually.
Yeah,
the
hard
Ottomans
work.
are amazing. I mean, like Sultan Fatih,
Mashallah.
all that sort of stuff. But there wouldn't be no Ottomans. Ottomans are like a successor to the Seljuks.
You're going to have every single Turkish person.
No,
listening
the
to
Seljuks
this.
are amazing.
Gonna
Like they
try and correct
they
you.
actually came from the steppes up from
Yeah.
Central Asia. They marched into, and then like Al Arsalan, Malik Shah. You read no relation, Malik Shah. These
Oh, I thought it was your uncle.
yeah. So these guys, they made it Turks, an
Turks.
Anatolian thing.
Yeah.
Anatolian thing, like Anatolia, Asia Minor, which is the Asia part, that main part of Turkey, what we consider Turkey, was not a Turkic place. And he basically said, all right, started resettling them into like, that was all
places.
Byzantine land.
Yeah.
And he just basically like unleashed Turks, like settled them down, took all the forts right up into Istanbul.
That's what's happening right now with all the Indian migration to Australia. Did you know?
What,
there
invading.
is, okay, I'm digressing right now, but just a fact that came to mind. There are 700,000 Indians in Australia.
Yeah, so
That's a lot.
it's a lot of curry.
That's a lot of curry. That's why the onion prices went up, mate.
Really? Yeah, that's why I couldn't find any coriander in the market, man. That was
I went to the markets the other day. They're empty.
yeah. I don't think it's just the Indians.
No,
I don't think
I'm not blaming-
700,000 Indians.
I'm not
have taken-
blaming the increase in prices on Indians, please.
Yeah, but some old world stuff is coming back. Andrew Tate, he got banned off. What was it? He got.
How can they ban him? What happened to freedom of speech?
I think.
That's my question.
think-
Whether you
I don't know
agree
what
with him or not,
exactly.
whether you-
Misogyny.
Yeah,
that's
but whether
what-
you agree with him or not, what happened to freedom of speech? We always talk about freedom of speech. And
yeah.
you know what? Even if people talk against Islam at the same time, or whatever,
Yeah.
what do you do?
Yeah, they
Right?
use that, but I think his one was, like there's a line where someone becomes impactful.
Yeah, he was having a lot of influence. It was like
on,
now
on
we need
young
to
men,
stop.
next
He
generation.
wasn't just
Like
screaming.
he actually dismantled the woke. So now they've got a problem because it's too late now. Like he basically in 4 months,
Where he lives in? Where does he live? He lives in some random
He got-
Romania.
he got watched more than Kim Kardashian
Is that right?
on all the famous YouTubers. That
I
you
heard
know.
about Andrew
like
Tate
20
from my
billion,
son.
20 billion last month views.
Wow.
That's how
Wow. Has he monetized himself?
some of it probably, yeah. And he's got Tate University. I don't know what
No
you study
way.
there. That's to become alims. Tate Madrasa.
Tate Madrasa.
But
Tate Hifz.
I mean, he's a world champion kickboxer, that's for sure. But he's famous not for that. He's famous for
His words.
His words, and his words are what? That women should be. I mean, he's that's why he lives in Romania. What do you say? Is why he lives in Romania. So if a woman accuses me of abuse, she can't sue me or something like that.
Right?
In Romania, they can't sue. Like, there's no such. It's Eastern Europe, right?
Yeah, that's right.
But like his views are probably obnoxious, and they are obnoxious. Some of them.
He is a bit obnoxious.
and they're not Islamic, and he chucks inshallah and mashallah every now and then.
Does
and
he?
Yeah, he said.
I actually haven't
he goes, a
listened to
lady
myself
goes
listen to him all
to
the
more than one man is haram. You know, like you'll say haram,
Nah.
things like that. You just randomly. He's not a Muslim, he's a Christian, but I think a lot of young Muslim men will probably just get fooled.
There's
by
a thing that he said that if I was going to be any religion, I'd be a Muslim.
Yeah.
But the reason he said it was interesting.
And a lot of young men are taking cue. You can't stop this because, once you suppress the natural.
And the more you suppress, the more it grows.
Yeah, and he now has become a cult hero. Oh, he's the bad guy, but he's telling me good stuff, according to them, right?
Yeah, so everyone else is the bad guy,
So
and
now,
he's a victim. He's a
yeah,
martyr.
yeah. So now,
Martyr to
and
YouTube.
in the world, that's sort of. So when I was talking about the Great Reset, I don't think they think it was going the other way, socially, morally, and so. But I think there's a backlash coming.
There is a backlash.
Values,
people have had
culture.
enough.
People had enough of the woke stuff. Like, for example, the Thundercat girl this week.
No, that's not just one girl.
No, but I don't know the lady. The
This
girl,
is
sorry,
a real
I call it Thundercat because
Thundercats are go.
yeah. So it's a cartoon in the 80s and
From when Molana was young.
yeah, which was these cat people. So this girl, she thinks she's in school this week. This is the news in Melbourne, in Australia this week.
Identifies as a cat.
She identifies as a cat, and the school is accommodating this.
Well, the only reason
nonsense.
it was there is because it was a private school. Because public schools accommodate.
Yeah.
Is because a private school was accommodating that for her mental well-being, right? But letting a
She's
child,
mental, all right?
letting a child
Sorry.
believe that was harsh. Letting a child believe
She's a cat.
that they're a cat and it's okay.
Yeah.
That's it. I think that's a problem.
Yeah, I
Like
think
walking around on all fours, licking your paws.
and the funny thing was, I saw the Matt Walsh at the same time when he interviews the trans person in San Francisco, or whatever.
What's your reality?
Yeah, and no, you're no, he goes, what's a cat? Or just
Yeah.
coincidentally, the YouTube algorithm is strong, and he goes, what's a
The
cat?
force is
What's
strong on
what's
this
a
one.
woman? That's a question he asked, and these people don't know how to answer.
He's
you know?
got smashed for that.
What?
Documentary?
But he asked that one question.
Yeah, he didn't ask a wrong question.
Yeah,
He
the
got
best
destroyed.
one is when
But the women weren't
the-
able to say what a woman is.
what
Women, actual women, so not even people identifying as women, but women, as we would say, with
biological woman.
women. Biological women with female genitalia were like too scared to say what a woman is because
Yeah.
of the on camera.
Look, my thing is, maybe I've said this joke before as well.
Here we go.
That
Do I need to cringe? Do I
no,
need
no,
to be
no.
ready
This
for
is
cringing?
I said, like, men are so good. They're so amazing. They even make better women. That so Leah Thompson, not Thomas, whatever, the swimmer.
She smashed it.
entered into the
female swimming.
The swimming is a man, whatever hormone, beaten by like a lap and a half. So
words.
I said men are so good.
Yeah, but
men are so
look,
good.
yeah,
Men are
what's your take on that?
Oh, it's just it's a mental.
No. What I'm saying is, what's your take? I'm not going to ask that question, but I'm saying, what's your take on men that identify as female now in women's sports? Me, I say let them have it. Let's go hard.
They'll never win.
No, but what I'm saying is,
They will always
people
lose.
have always been complaining about equality, and it's okay if that's the way they feel. They can be like that. Okay, that's cool. Now let them go hard. Why do you have a problem with a man competing in women's sports?
I think it's generally recognized even by the people who support women's sports that women are different.
Yeah, but
That was like
no, but then say it.
No,
To
but
me,
that,
then say it.
but that was the understanding. That's why even what's his name got in trouble. What's a tennis player? The one who used to go great, John McEnroe.
Yeah, when he talked about Venus Williams.
Yeah, she's the
Or
best
Serena
woman.
Williams.
The
Serena
best,
Williams.
the best woman player in the world. So why do you have to qualify?
I'll beat him now.
Yeah,
at my age.
And he said that like no, she would be like 700. The 700 college men would probably beat her. And they didn't like that, obviously, because they don't want to know the truth. So he said, I'm not apologizing
But
for
she
it.
agreed with it.
Huh?
She agreed with it.
Yeah. I mean, like they want to like that's not reality. Then you're not operating in reality. I think because of this ridiculousness,
It's gone too far, man.
it's like you're not acknowledging realities on the ground. You're not acknowledging realities between different men and women. That was all right.
You know what the biggest thing on that is? Sorry, I have to interrupt you because it's just come to my mind. The biggest thing on that one is the lady that became a man, right? So she had like the top parts removed, breast reduction, like everything.
Oh yeah, that was sad. That was sad.
But now she's suing the psychiatrist.
Yeah, but you know, he goes even after what is it? After 400 years, if they dig up my bones,
don't know I'm a woman.
They said they'll know that.
That guy.
No, that's a
not
woman.
the one from the.
That was a woman who became a man.
No, that one not from the video.
Oh,
not from the movie. Just recently today, I read it. So there's a lady suing a psychiatrist because she's saying, I went to this psychiatrist. I said I wanted to become a man. So he, did whatever tests he wants. He spoke to the parents. He spoke to me. He said, okay, go for it. And she's saying he should have taken more care and done more investigation because I'm now not happy as a man. That's not fair on the psychiatrist.
Yeah.
Or the psychologist.
Well, the psychologists are probably lefty weirdos.
The psychologist was like, I did whatever, like I did my job.
Yeah.
And I spoke to the parents. There was nothing that was showing me that this person didn't want to do this.
But the thing is that the actual thing is wrong. Like whether you want to do it or not, that's wrong.
But that's not.
It's so easy in Islam. It's so easy. Allah Subhanahu wa Taala says that He created a man and a woman. Deal with it, right? Like it's very simple. He said He created a man and a woman. One of the signs of Qiyamah is forget about gender assignment or research. I get it. Somebody's born with two genders. Like it's possible intersex.
Yeah.
So some deny that such a thing exists. Some say it doesn't exist at all, but khunsa is there. There's some, it's there in fiqh books. Khunsa mushkil, like where their gender is sort of like dubious.
So they got both,
and they can do an operation. If they can do an operation to make themselves one, they're supposed to do that. But the idea of non-binary, no, that's goes against the Quran itself. Like Allah said, He created men and women. So, but anyway, we've talked about this before. But anyway, Thundercats go. We got Thundercats.
No, we got kids in my son's school. There are kids that identify as cats now and dogs. They call them furries.
No, furries is like a fetish thing, isn't it?
No, bro.
No, furries is a fetish.
No, it's not
These
just
are
that.
kids.
No, it's become a thing.
You know what furries are? They dress up as...
Yeah,
like
but no, it's become a thing where they identify as an animal. So they lick their paws, walk on all fours.
Let them do it. So, like Islam's going to conquer the world. This is just... Islam is going to conquer the world. Just let them become furries, whatever they want to become. All right.
You know what my fear is?
Oh, no.
You know what I'm afraid of? Like where I go, what the hell's going on? What's going to happen is, okay, we've got all this woke culture right now, for want of a better term. Okay, and we're going in this direction. What are the adults of 20, 30 years time going to be like?
Are they going to be messed up? You know, I was talking to somebody about this.
Well, what the hell is the
World
world
War
gonna
I,
be like?
World War II messed up. Shell shock generation. They lost religion. They came back. Their kids became the what was in the sexual revolution in the 60s. That's the what we call boomers now. But the boomers then were the ones that like went Woodstock and all that sort of stuff. Yeah. So because their parents lost religion, stopped going to church, all those things because they were shell shocked from war and so forth. Then their kids became the hippies. Those kids, their kids became like gradually, they like kept on shifting. Generation Z, what is it? X,
Y,
which is
Z,
our generation. Y, Z, and then Z is like the weirdos. They're the most weird.
Man.
They're the most. And you see this in the amazing thing is you see these experiments. Empires. This is where they start. Somebody was talking about this. When empires collapse, they start worrying about gender and all these sort of things. They do like social.
The collapse of empires happens because
social engineering.
Yeah, but collapse of empires is from just satisfaction of the nafs.
Yeah,
and
but they
just a
become
pure
like not
focus on
pleased
that.
with this, they're not pleased to just be a man or a woman or just enjoy the normal things. They got to do all this weird stuff. So you see
I don't mind weird stuff.
The Persian Empire when it was collapsing before Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam or around time of Rasul, they said, there's no
there was a lot of stuff going
there was no
on,
marriages, there's no relationships, everybody's free to do what they want, nobody owns anything. So they go through this weird phase of like they got everything, they satisfied all the desires that they could, and now they turn their attention to all these sort of like fetishes and weirdness. Like they got to go into the weird.
Yeah, because in developing countries, it's not that big a deal.
Yeah. That's why.
But
That's
people
why
say
when
that's
Matt
because
Walsh,
it's not allowed
when
to.
he spoke to the what do you call it?
Maasai warriors.
Warriors, but the Maasai guys,
tribesmen, yeah.
tribesmen. They were
They couldn't process it.
because they're probably closer to
They're
fitra.
like, what do you mean?
What do you? No, there's a man and there's a woman, and there's a man has this and the woman has this. And it's like
We don't have that. Yeah.
it's so straightforward. I think this is what I'm saying. Like this shift that is happening, the pendulum's going to swing hard the other way.
To the far right.
Christianity and so forth. Yeah, it's gonna.
You reckon?
Swing. Yeah, it will
There's
swing.
too many atheists in the world now.
No. I don't think it will be. They don't have all the answers, and there will be a switch back. Because even when you read, when things get tough, and so, you watch, the people will revert to some sort of
Belief system.
Yeah, they will. They have to. I don't know. This is my opinion. I don't know the future, how people, but I feel like the fact that Roe and Wade,
Let me use my
the Roe and Wade thing in the US,
Yeah.
right,
Overturned.
are overturned because of how the Christian far right in the most biggest economy in the world. So these sort of
Yeah, but the reason they say that happened was because of Republicanism, Trump, and majority of the Supreme Court bench is now far right.
Yeah,
Not because it's left.
yeah, but
And
that
that's
has an
been
impact.
engineered,
That's
though.
going to be engineered, but it affects the average person. So it's going to ripple down.
Does it?
It will. Watch.
I don't know. I'm skeptical on that one.
The reason I mention that is that before Mahdi alayhi salam comes, there'll be battles between Muslims and Christians, right? There'll be wars. That's how it's identified in the hadith. It doesn't say between Muslims and atheists. Like they're not even a thing. In future history, they're not a thing, right? And he said the Christian armies that will come, right? Because wars will make you a believer. Like if it's not, it'll make you
Allah
extreme.
protect us, man.
No, I'm just saying it'll make you extreme, and it'll make you focused on a few set values, and people will be praying before battles and all that sort of those things will. Look at Ukraine. Just watch Ukraine, and they lived under communism for 60, 70 years. Just look at how they became Orthodox.
Yeah, but the Russian Orthodox or the Orthodox Church is very strong in that area. And it's always been like that, even during communism.
Not really. No, it was suppressed.
bro.
They sort of reclaiming it, rediscovering it. Anyway, the army that will fight the Muslims is one army that will fight the Muslims. This is in the future. When they fight, that army will say there'll be Muslims that join Christian together against another Christian army.
Yeah.
And that when Muslims win, and the Muslim and the Christian together, they'll win against the other Christian army. The Muslim says because of Allah, the Christian says because of the cross.
Because of the cross.
Then they'll fight each other. When do ever Christians say it's because of the cross for anything?
Yeah, okay.
So I reckon, this is my opinion. I don't know how long that is in the future. It could be.
We're not saying
it could
it's
be swinging
tomorrow
back-
or around the
It could be
corner.
swinging back and forth. We don't know before we definitely. Allah, if it's in our lifetime or not. But I reckon the hedonism, the just freestyle,
People have had enough.
Yeah, I think that people do need structure and
I'm finding that what I'm finding is young men especially have had enough.
yeah, and that's why Andrew Tate exists.
they're going towards
He doesn't exist like as a himself. He exists because of
when you see even within our sphere of speaking to young men or whoever we speak to, the age groups we speak to, there's a definite shift in the mindset. You've still got the ones that want to party or do whatever, but now there's a lot of mature young men that is going, I've had enough.
Yeah, I'm not going to be.
And they're not part of it. Not that I've had enough. I don't want to be part of this.
Yeah.
I'm seeing this. I'm seeing it's not working for my friends or my peers. I've got nothing to do. And I'm not talking about guys that are nerds or, the fringes. I'm talking about guys that are popular
Yeah.
or guys that, people look up to.
Look, go online and find what's his name, the red. What's he called? The red Mahdi, and like the red pill thing.
He's pretty full on.
Have you heard him?
Yeah, are you the one with the little beard?
Muslim guy.
No, not the
No. He's actually.
Oh,
very,
that's the other one.
He was like full on, but
Majani
he's
or something.
Huh?
The one last night.
Tidjani, yeah.
Yeah, that's different.
So he's developed over the year, like matured, and he puts Islamic position in a sort of counter to the liberal feminist sort of thing, but in a very sort of maybe crude way in the language, like don't marry a woman with a high body count. And it's like things like that, like it's a language that may not be. So he was on 5 Pillars or one of those UK podcasts, and with Dealey was saying, I think that's his name, and as a journalist, and he was like interviewing him, and he's still like this type of language. He said, no, I got to put it in its way that. So he was at one point saying not to marry single mothers, that sort of thing, like using that type of language, and why like no matter what you do, how much you raise the kid, that child will never be Islamically your child, which is a fact. So he was he was speaking, and he's married to a single mother who's got kids. He said that I actually got 2-3 kids from previous marriage. So he's not but he's mentioning some realities that people don't want to talk about. Okay. And some of them from Islamic perspective, and I think he's matured over the years. But the thing is that people like him exist, who are laying it down in a way that nobody else has articulated. I think we're talking about now a second generation of younger, you can say more.
Jaded.
No, not jaded. Jaded and aggressive.
No, jaded.
Aggressive masculinity. I don't want to call it toxic because I don't like that. That's just basically feminists use that for any male that asserts his maleness.
Or that goes against
so
what they
when
say.
I say aggressive, I mean no, they want to assert their maleness. That's
They're not aggressive. Assertive, not aggressive.
Yeah, assertive and confident as a man. And yeah, you can't be like a woman.
But if you don't like it, don't interact with me. They say that as well.
Yeah, go somewhere else. But you keep coming back to my show. Like Kevin Samuels, the late Kevin Samuels. He used to be like that. Why do you keep coming back to my show? Because I'm spitting truth. I'm speaking the truth to you. That's why you keep coming back. So, and
he speaks the truth to men and women. They don't just speak the truth to women. They speak the truth to men as well that are a bit. How you going?
Yeah. Like get your act together.
Get your act together, and
how
do you expect step
up?
Yeah,
there's brothers like they are shocked. Like brothers who don't know that they have to pay everything for the family. Like they are responsible for paying all the bills. Right? That's its Islamic obligation. Like they're making sure they get a wife with a good job.
No, bro.
Like they factor into the relationship because they want to make sure they're financially in a. Like they don't know that Islamically they're obliged to provide the house, clothing. Yeah, they don't have to buy a house. They don't have to, but they have to meet the needs, not be stingy and not be wasteful. And according to their means, they're supposed to provide for their family. And if they can't provide and support a wife and kids, then they shouldn't get married. It's very simple in Islam. But they don't know that, and they don't know that you're not supposed to tell your wife to. Yeah, if a lady works, it's fine, I guess, in certain with conditions. But he's not supposed to send his wife out of the house for work. That's the thing.
It shouldn't be.
It's one of the signs of Qiyamah when the wife will help the man in the business, right? So in Islam is a patriarchy. I don't like the word, but what does patriarchy mean? If the man is in charge of the head of the house, well, he is. That's in Islam as well. He's the hakim of the house, the amir of the house. That, I think, nobody teaches that, or very few teachers. So when these guys come along, if Muslim or non-Muslim, if that is what Islam teaches, that means that's fitrah. That's the natural way to be. And if that's a natural way to be, then it'll appear not just in Muslims, in non-Muslims as well, like through their speech. And that's why it resonates, because it's resonating to the fitrah. Yeah, there's a lot of nonsense there, a lot of un-Islamic things.
Yeah, and we've got to make sure people understand we're not condoning it. There is a lot of nonsense there.
Yeah, no. He's talking about zina and everything like that and all haram things. But I'm talking about why is it that it's clicking? Like why has
it got 20 billion views in a month?
Yeah, exactly. He outdid all the social media, the Kardashians. He beat everybody in views last month. That's why they're worried, because this guy, he was like a lightning rod at the time where young people, they need guidance, and they've been this part of them is suppressed. They're not being groomed into men.
They're not
being groomed. No one's grooming them into men.
It's extended childhood. John Taylor Gatto used to talk about it a lot. Where today's schooling system or today's system of today's society extends the childhood. So what that means is, you've got a 20-year-old that acts like a 15-year-old, or a 40-year-old that acts like a 5-year-old. Yeah, right, whatever. Right. So that's something to think about.
Yeah. So the
great reset, according to Shaykh Khalid. You heard it here, folks.
Yeah, and I reckon there could be some good stuff in it, meaning that sort of the social experiments have been done for the last 50, 60 years, especially since the 60s, the sexual revolution, all these sort of feminist third, fourth, fifth way of feminism. I reckon it's backfiring, and they're looking more ridiculous. Every iteration of it now is becoming. It shows you why the traditional family, the husband-wife roles, the man roles, not just man-wife, the husband-wife roles, the traditional roles, why they worked for so long, for like forever, from Adam
Yeah.
alayhi salam till the 50s, right? They worked. And then a man is a man and he's identified by certain traits that he exhibits. And a woman is a woman.
Or actually, no, certain just the physicality of it.
Yeah, but exhibits as well. Like he knows that he's a man, and this is his this is what he's supposed to do, and it's just instinctive. It's supposed to. But when they broke it down, well, now you have to deal with the consequences of it. Like you have to. This is the mess that you've created. You know,
I just feel
alhamdulillah,
sorry.
in the Muslim world, only in the upper middle class, this nonsense. Like
Now, bro, it's changing.
it's upper middle class, but in general, the poorer. What we call the poor third world countries, they still have these normal, natural fidelity.
They're too busy trying to survive.
Yeah,
They haven't
exactly.
got time.
So yeah, they don't.
Goes back to Maslow's hierarchy of needs. They're still in their basic needs, trying to fulfill those.
Yeah, and we are like
Self-actualization.
yeah. Anyway, interesting topics, interesting times we're living in. But I think
They worry me. The times we live in worry me.
yeah, it's becoming weird.
They really worry me. Like even just going out.
Yeah, there's a weirdness.
I'm seeing a lot more men in dresses now.
Really?
Yeah.
Nice dress.
There's a few
Are you sure?
There's a
Are
few
you
that will
sure?
suit you.
Are you sure? Are you sure? Like the dresses?
Or are you sure they're men?
Yeah. It could be a really masculine woman. You know?
No, bro.
Yeah.
No, bro.
I mean, we used to see them cross dresses like in the 90s, but very rare. It was like news. I saw a guy in a dress today.
Now it's normal.
Are you sure it wasn't a lungi?
Bro. This
Sarong.
was a
It
flowing.
wasn't a sarong.
This was a flowing black. It wasn't a dress actually. It was a flowing black.
It
skirt.
doesn't even look nice on men.
It depends who's wearing it. Really, I reckon I could pull one of those off.
Astaghfirullah. That's one of the signs of Qiyamah is like the men will dress like women and women will resemble. I mean, this is just, we're living through it, sadly. You know, Allah guide them. They're lost. Masakin, they're lost. You know?
I'm lost. Allah protect all of us.
Yeah.
That's all I can say.
Yeah. What can do the great reset? Inshallah, it works out in favor of humanity, but I can't see it. Yeah.
That's why everyone's trying to go to Mars, mate.
To get away from this.
Just get
mess.
away from it all.
Yeah.
I'm going to Mars.
Anyway.
Too busy to, worrying about oxygen to worry about anything else.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. All right, let's call it a night.
All right.
Inshallah.
Thank you for watching. Please like, subscribe, and press the bell icon. And we'll see you later.
Assalamu alaikum.